Hello, and welcome to RPG Community College. My name is John Burgundy. I am the Dean of this prestigious institution, and today I'm here to give you some beginner tips for the game Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn is a complex game with tons of different systems for you to learn and master. I will try to scratch the surface of most of them, but this video is more about getting you started on the right path, and it's not meant to be an in-depth guide to the various mechanics of the game. This video was also made before the release of the Forgotten Gods expansion, so the Oathkeeper class and the content added will not be featured in this guide. There's also a lot to cover, so let's get started. You generally want to have about 100 times your level in health, so at level 30, 3000, and level 50, 5000, and so on. From my personal experience, this is a very comfortable amount of health to have, even on hardcore. But as a side note, I do not recommend your first playthrough be in the hardcore. There are a few encounters where you will need some foresight to survive, and this can only be gained with proper game knowledge. So save yourself some time and some frustration, and just have your first playthrough be in the softcore veteran difficulty. Grim Dawn is a good enough game to be fun and exciting, even without the thrill of permadeath. Just play any of them. Really, they're all great. Don't really worry about what is the best. Nobody's first character is ever going to be their best character. The only thing you should be min-maxing in your first character is fun. Cairn is a land filled with interesting places to explore, secrets to uncover, and tons of adventures to be had. If you're going to turn it into something you have to do so that you'll be able to have fun later, you're going to be doing yourself a huge disservice. Just try and play what's fun. To help with that, the first link that you're going to find in the description will be an offline build planner called Grim Tools. It's a free community tool made by the great and wonderful Dammit. With this tool, you'll be able to see what skills each class has, which can help you in your decision making. Each class has a skill that is great for leveling. I will touch on this a little later. But generally, you want to pick one damage dealing skill and focus on maxing it out. Keep in mind how much health your character has as well. For most classes, the most effective way early on to increase your health pool is to invest points in the class's skill tree bar, marked with a plus sign towards the bottom of the skill tree menu. I personally get my damage dealing ability to level 5, then I invest 1 point in it per level and 2 points in my class skill bar. This should give you enough health and damage while providing you with enough attribute points to wear any piece of gear. You gain 1 attribute point every time you gain a level. Most of the time, it's going to be best just to dump all of them into your physique stat. If you're going to play a character that relies on casting spells, you might want to put 5 attribute points into your spirit stat, and still dump the rest into physique afterwards. At level 10, you're going to be asked to choose a second class. You don't have to make this decision right away. I often choose to just focus on one class's skill tree during the beginning of the game. You also should never be afraid to put skill points into an ability just to try it out. If you don't know what something does, experiment with it. Respecking is super cheap and can be done as many times as you want after gaining access to Devil's Crossing. Each class in Grim Dawn is unique, synergistic, and hosts many different interesting abilities. Sadly, not all abilities are created equally, and some are going to shine more in certain situations than others. If you would like to have a peek at what I think each class's strongest leveling abilities are, I've included Grim Tools links for level 30 skill trees for each class in the description. There are a couple things I would like to highlight from them though. Some classes, such as the Nightblade, have built-in healing abilities. It would be very wise to invest 3 to 5 points into them while leveling. Also, some abilities, such as the Inquisitor's Deadly Aim or the Arcanist's Mirror of Heracrates, are very effective skills with only 1 point invested into them. I think all the skills in Grim Dawn have a place, but some of them are much better at leveling characters than others. Don't be discouraged if the skill I chose is not the one you had in mind. I guarantee the game can be played to completion with any skill. This is a very deep topic and something that is just going to take some time and experience to really understand. But I can explain some of the more important details. You're going to earn devotion points by restoring shrines located around Cairn. You use these points to complete constellations, which are going to provide you passive bonuses and affinity. Generally, the stronger the constellation is, the more affinity that you're going to need to unlock it. It is possible to respec out of the weaker devotions, such as the crossroads section in the middle of the devotion tree, but only if your affinity requirements are still met after the respec. This will allow you to invest those points in other parts of the tree. Most devotion trees built by more experienced players usually focus on reducing enemy resistances, gaining offensive ability, and filling in the gaps that your gear is not going to be able to cover. I highly recommend opening up the devotion tree in Grim Tools and playing around with it. In my opinion, Grim Dawn's devotion system is one of the best built and balanced systems ever put in an RPG. It's great for theory crafting and feels very rewarding when you use it properly. A well-built devotion tree can turn a peasant into a king. It is well worth learning the ins and outs of the system. Included in the level 30 Grim Tools skill trees in the description, I've also put in a good devotion tree for the builds. If you're looking for a good example of how to properly build devotion trees, they're in there. Gear is pretty simple starting out and only gets more complicated the further you dive into the game. It will make or break your characters, and getting better and more gear is pretty much always going to be your goal in the game. Early on though, just focus on getting gear that has high resists. I would say armor values don't really matter until you get towards the middle to end of the elite difficulty. One thing that will help you a lot is getting up your reputation with the friendly factions in the game. They have special vendors that sell you better gear the higher your reputation is with them. I always find myself buying the boots and the gloves from the Homestead's faction vendor when leveling new characters. They're pretty good. Another thing that will ease the burden of finding good gear is components. These can be placed on the gear to give it buffs. Many of these drop off of enemies or can be crafted at any blacksmith. If you miss the quest to get your blacksmith in Devil's Crossing, it can be started by talking to an NPC named Duncan. He's just southeast of the Burwitch Outskirts Rift. If you want to separate the components in the gear, you can do this at Darlet, Kasparov's apprentice in Devil's Crossing, after saving her in the Dank Cellar in the Burwitch Estates. You can only choose to keep the gear or the component, so choose wisely. Another item that can be added to your gear is called augments. When the faction vendors finally decide that you're cool enough, they will begin selling you various bags of brightly colored powders. While the legality of these substances has never been explained officially in the lore, and is a little questionable in my eyes, I highly recommend you use them. They are very powerful. One thing to always be mindful of when exploring the various areas in the game is to keep an eye out for hidden paths or destructible walls. There are a lot of secret areas in the game with hidden treasures to be found. Some contain chests that can only be opened once, then disappear. These are called one-shot chests, and they have a high chance of containing good loot. If you look towards the bottom left of your screen, you may notice an icon attached to your health bar. This is the in-game loot filter. I would recommend turning off white and yellow items after your character has an item equipped in every slot. Yellow items are really bad, and the only time you should ever pick them up is if you have nothing else or you're desperate for iron bits. If you're an owner of the Crucible DLC, a popular trick for starting new characters is to hit level 2 in the campaign for easy access to a skill. Then head to the Crucible and farm the first 10 waves repeatedly until you have 30 Crucible points. You can then use these Crucible points to buy devotion points, giving you a head start in the devotion tree. Another feature of Grim Tools, for those of you who are not worried about spoiling the story of the game, is the checklist. It's a recent addition that provides a handy list of the locations of important quests and devotion shrines. For another great resource for information about this game and various builds, there is really no better place than the official forums. You can check the description of the video for links to incredibly helpful materials. There will be a link to the official guide to the game written by the devs, a community-curated build compendium with a wealth of information, and I will also include links to 2 builds, one melee, one spellcaster. They have incredible potential, and if despite my previous advice you just want to play whatever's the strongest, these builds are going to take you from nothing to dominating the endgame, guaranteed. That's going to be all for this video, and if you're feeling a little smarter than you did about 10 minutes ago, consider liking and subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated. I wish you the best of luck in your adventures, and I hope to see you again soon.